Well, the story, of course, it happened before I was born. The case happened. The case of Bentley and Craig happened before I was born. So, but it was
what
past,
was the case of Bentley and Craig?
Well, briefly, as I understand it, two young tearaways were cornered by the police during a robbery. One was under arrest. That was Bentley. And he shouted to his friend to let him have it. Now, the younger man had the gun, and the interpretation placed on it by the prosecution was that he intended to incite him to fire the gun, which is what he did, and shot the policeman dead. When they came to trial, they were both found guilty, but because Chris Craig was underage, he couldn't be hanged, so they hanged Bentley, even though he had actually been in custody at the time of the murder, because they said he incited the man to do it through his words. And then on an occasion a few years ago, I read an interview with Derek Bentley's sister, and some of just the personal things she said about it were so heartbreaking in a real way, not in some sentimental way. They were so brutal, some of the things that she said, because she is still trying to get some kind of acknowledgement that maybe a mistake was made, or some kind of apology, or what's the word, a pardon of some kind.
Yeah.
How can you retract somebody, killing somebody, you can't take it back. That's the whole problem. It's an unembellished, unadorned song, apart from some comment that I make that I would say you have to have in those story songs. It comes from a sort of tradition of story songs where you tell the story and then you almost say, and the moral of this story is. And there's a lot of songs like that, and for a long time I resisted doing those, mainly because I figured they'd been done to death. But this seemed the right form for this song. This just to be technical, to get away from the actual subject for 1 second, to step back at how to say it, was just to put this one little comment in it, that at the middle and the end of the song. So that would be like your two little comments on this story, to bring it up to date in one respect, that if killing anybody is a terrible crime, why does this bloodthirsty chorus come around from time to time? And then in the last verse, it just comments a little bit on the way in which this whole debate seems sometimes to be manipulated solely for its political merits. And that's probably not the right word. The merit or the power of distraction that it has.
Bentley said to Craig, let him have it, Chris. They still don't know today just what he meant by this. Craig fired the pistol but was too young to swing, so the police took Bentley, and the very next thing, let him dangle, let him dangle. Let him dangle, let him dangle. Bentley had surrendered, he was under arrest when he gave Chris Craig that fatal request. Craig shot Sidney Miles, he took Bentley's word. The prosecution claimed as they charged him with murder. Let him dangle, let him dangle. Let him dangle, let him dangle. They say Derek Bentley was easily led. Well, what's that to the woman that just Sidney Miles wed? Though guilty was the verdict, and Craig had shot him dead. The gallows were for Bentley, and still she never said, let him dangle, let him dangle. Let him dangle, let him dangle. Well, it's hard to imagine as the times have changed, when there's a murder in the kitchen that is brutal and strange. If killing anybody is a terrible crime, why does this bloodthirsty chorus come round from time to time? Let him dangle. Not many people thought that Bentley would hang, but the word never came, the phone never rang. Outside Wandsworth prison there was horror and hate. as the hangman shook Bentley's hand to calculate his weight. Let him dangle, let him dangle. Let him dangle, let him dangle. Well, it's hard to imagine it's the times that have changed when there's a murder in the kitchen that is brutal and strange. If killing anybody is a terrible crime, why does this bloodthirsty chorus come round from time to time? Let him dangle. From a welfare state to society murder, bring back the noose is always heard. Whenever those swine are under attack, but it won't make you even, it won't bring him back. Let him dangle, let him dangle. 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 Stand him up.
You collaborate with on 2 tracks on this album. Obviously you were very familiar with his oeuvre when you came to work with him. How familiar was he with yours?
My oeuvre.
Your oeuvre.
My oeuvre. I really don't know. I didn't ask him that question. We were more concerned with the job in hand, which was to write some songs. I came along with a couple of songs which I had started work on.
You were primarily brought in to work on his album, and are these 2 songs that appear on your album a byproduct of that?
Not really a byproduct. I took them as insurance against us just being in the room and staring at each other and going, what do we do now? I had some songs I was underway with. For instance, I just happened to have this book here. Now, I brought this along.
Pads, Paws and Claws.
Can you see that? Pads, Paws and Claws. And it does sound like a good rock and roll kind of song title. Not like a big time, you know, terribly profound thought. It's just, it sparks off your imagination some sort of thought. So I had a little, can I do this? Yeah. I had this very guitar. This one given to me by George Formby. And I had this riff which is just kind of, it's just kind of, you know, people know that riff, they've heard it forever. It's so simple, it's like, baby, please don't go. You know, and John Lee Hooker and all this stuff. And I had this much of a song written. She's a feline tormentor, not any vaudeville wife, with a drunk town of Mandy, leads her a miserable life. But when it's full of that beer champagne, she pats, paws, and claws. And if you should wake up in some terrible dive, we don't know if it's so, but you're so surprised it's alive. Come on, little honey, let me under your hide. She pats, paws, and claws. So I had that much of it, which could have gone on and on and on like that and just been riffing on that thing and would have been just fun.